You're with Cracker on Soundscape, ambient music for the evening, and a special guest tonight. We've got Tim Heenan in the studio, and those who know Tim won't need to know this, but if you don't, Tim has been a long time environmental and community activist in the area, especially around Mount Evelyn, and he's been a councillor and he's been mayor twice. He's a well-known figure, cares a lot about the community, and he's in tonight to have a chat to us about homelessness. G'day, Tim.
Good evening, Cracker, and good evening, listeners. It's good to be here again, to be able to have the opportunity that Yarra Valley FM gives me to be able to talk about homelessness with you, Greg.
That's all right. You've been in the habit of raising awareness of homelessness the last number of years by sleeping in a cardboard box, which is a pretty out there thing to do. How many years have you been doing it now?
My first stint was a 7-night stint in my second mayoral year, 2008.
Yeah.
I then went back and did 16 nights in 2011. Decided to go for the whole month, the whole winter, August month in 2012, and then did exactly the same again for the whole of August in 2013.
And you're doing 10 nights here this
10
month?
nights, but also committed to be there 10 days as well. I've had the opportunity of taking annual leave, so I could spend 24 hours there a day for the next 10 days.
That's a huge thing. You often hear about, people promoting homelessness by sleeping in a building or a pavilion or something overnight, but you're doing it outside in a cardboard box in the rough in a park in Lilydale.
Yeah, look, not to take away from the good work that all of these one-night sleepouts do, because they raise an enormous amount of money for charity and enormous amount of money for grassroots people that are right at the coalface with the homelessness. I thought in order to do justice and do it in a fairly serious and sincere manner, I should think that it would be good enough to sleep in a cardboard box out in the open, to make sure that if I'm talking to people about what it's like to be in a cardboard box in the rough, you need to experience that firsthand. So I set up a cardboard box, set it up on some plastic on the ground, cover it with mattress plastic and a small blue tarp, hold it down so it's not going to get blown away in the inclement weather that we're probably going to have in the next 10 days. And just touch base with as many people as we can in the park, coming and going. Some homeless, some sleeping in cars, some obviously couch surfing. There's many different variations, as you well know, but it's just touching base with them. I've been supported for the last few years by Holy Fools, principally Neil Taylor and his family, Debbie McLeod and her family, and many others who have come along and make sure that we can have food, we can have personal items that might be needed for anyone there. I've also had swags for homeless as a support base, and hoping to give away some of those this year as well.
Now, I think with the bad weather this year, you might need to arrange your blue plastic into a peak for all the snow to fall off. Because this weekend in particular, when you're starting Friday night, this weekend in particular is going to be freezing.
It absolutely is. And I remember last year, after about probably 16 nights, the cold really did start to get to me then. It's very difficult to keep the cardboard box dry. It's important not to try and get it damp. And I'll be doing my utmost to make sure I don't do that again this year, because after 30 nights last year, it really did get damp, and the cold just goes straight through the cardboard.
Yeah, and I know from experience seeing you there in the past that you're not cheating in any way. There's no electricity, there's no power. For lights, you've got torches, run by batteries. For heat, you're lucky if you get a fire going in a brazier. You have to wear 5 layers of clothing at night to be able to sleep. Pouring with rain, it's windy. There's nothing romantic about this at all. No,
it's not glamorous. Having done it now for 85 nights, and this will probably, all things being equal, amount to 95 nights when I finish doing it on the 10th of August. It just sends home the message to me that we know that well over 100,000 Australians go through this every night, and it's getting worse. It is absolutely getting worse.
You're with Cracker on Soundscape.
24 to 10, we've got Tim Heenan here in the YVFM studio. We're talking about homelessness. Tim's going to be sleeping in a cardboard box for 10 nights and staying there for 10 days in Melba Park, or by Melba Park in Lilydale. Tim, you're doing this by choice to raise awareness, but people who are homeless, what reasons are there that they would be out there not living nice and comfy like I do in a house?
Yeah, look, good question, Greg. In all seriousness, what we've done, or what Australia has done over the last few years, is try and open up that question, because there was a long-held view that a homeless person, the type of person that you would look at, would probably be an elderly gentleman, probably an alcoholic, and a person that would be very scruffy and just something that we used to class as a dero in Australia, when in fact the homeless person these days is a person that obviously has fallen on hard times. It might be the result of a loss of job, or the loss of affordable rental housing, someone that might have been involved with domestic and family violence and needed to get out of that area, or not having the financial ability to maintain themselves in suitable accommodation. And that can be a young person, that can be a middle-aged person, it could be a person, who might be heading towards their pension years. There is no one type of person in Australia now that is homeless. It covers all sphere.
Men and women, and they start because of a problem in their life, and the problems just build up from there. Once you become homeless, say for a financial reason, then you've got to work out just how to survive. You're in a totally unfamiliar territory, and you've got to learn a new way of living, and that can be so stressful. And you add to that health issues because you're sleeping out, especially in winter like this. If you can't afford rent or accommodation, you're not likely to be able to afford a doctor, medical assistance. There's mental health issues coming up as well.
Greg, look, that's absolutely correct. And when a person has persistent mental illness, they also have psychological distress as well. I've listened to many stories over the years, and some of the stories I've listened to for people who've been homeless or people that are on the brink of being homeless, I think to myself, well, that's probably an occasion where you probably could have just picked up your bootstraps again, tied them up and get on and give it another go. But it's become abundantly clear to me that not everyone can tie up their bootstraps and get going again, particularly when they do have a mental illness or they've got severe depression or whatever crisis happened in their life to put them in that situation has not had the opportunity to unfold in the right way. And look, I'm probably not using the right words. I'm certainly not a person who's involved in counselling or anything, but I do have a fair degree of understanding now that the little things in life can absolutely penetrate a person and destroy them. And that's how they become homeless.
And having a home is a refuge. It's your safe base. It's where you go. You have supplies there that you need, including more inferior things like heat, warmth, shelter, as well as practical things like a bathroom, toilet, safe place to sleep, that sort of thing, a phone. All these things are there in your refuge if you live in a house. But when you become homeless, all those things are taken away from you. You can't rely on any safety. You can't rely on things being the same tomorrow as they are today. You might sleep in one space and find that tomorrow you can't. So your whole life is turned upside down and you've got no foundation left to stand on. And that can be very, very traumatic and just add to all the illnesses and things that you're going through.
Consider this, and this is following on exactly from what you said. When a homeless person can't have a shower, particularly a female, when they can't take care of their personal needs, when they can't wash themselves and they can't clean their teeth, we now understand the medical issues and the substantial medical issues, and it's well over 60% of homeless people have more severe medical problems than a person that is not homeless. And all of those coming together, as you said, only compound the problem for that homeless person. It's been said many times before that even to be able to have a shower and maybe for a man to have a shave and just get cleaned up with a fresh pair of clothing on, give gives a little bit of dignity back to that person. We've got some great support organisations in and around Lilydale, and they do what they can to help some of these people, but there's still a lot that goes by the wayside.
Yes, indeed. Neil Taylor he's from Holy Fools. They operate out of Lilydale, and your sleepout is organised around promoting or getting awareness and help with Holy Fools as well for homeless people.
Absolutely. What Holy Fools does is fill a very, very big hole with a very, very small plug. And the reason why they can only fill it with a very, very small plug is because they're very strapped with their resources. Principally, one of the best things that they can do is provide food, which they're doing now almost on a weekly basis, both in the daytime and the nighttime. And particularly the daytime barbecue in Melba Park in Lilydale has taken on a whole new meaning for people who, although may not all be homeless, certainly a lot of them are in impoverished circumstances, and to be able to come together and have a little bit of fellowship with other people, and it gives Neil and his supporters there an opportunity to actually see what they can do to help. How they can refer them to another organisation, and there are others in Lilydale like Anglicare and Anchor who are doing great jobs as well, and those people also have an opportunity to help a homeless person. But let's not kid ourselves. It is a gigantic hole. And even these other organisations, if they're all together, they're only able to put a very small plug in there. What we have in society now is a whole new set of circumstances surrounding people that will be in this situation for most of their life.
Having a chat with you and Neil the other day, and Neil said that in Melbourne, in the city, there's a 46% increase in homeless people since the last survey. So things are getting worse, not better.
Every June, you're right, Greg, they take a bit of a count a couple of times in the month of June around people sleeping rough in Melbourne. And according to the age statistics, those volunteers had detected an extra 42 people over and above the average 100 that they'd been getting since the count started 5 years ago. What they also said in the interview is that on the fringes of the CBD of Melbourne, they found more people sleeping rough. So the statistics I've just quoted you aren't up to date. We can now determine that there are many, many more people that are sleeping rough, and it would be more than a 50%. It's probably close to a 70% increase just on the last year. Now, that's got to tell you something. That's got to really, if you unpack that, that's got to tell you that something is really, really wrong.
Thankfully, groups like Holy Fools and Anchor and Anglicare and so on who operate in this area are not only providing some practical needs, but the ability for a homeless person to find someone they can trust and rely on, because living homeless, as I said before, can take nothing for granted anymore. You've got no resources left, and every day is different. There's no foundation to stand on. So coming across a group of people or an organisation that is going to be there tomorrow and the day after, and you know that if you go to a certain place, you're going to get, say, food, and you'll be able to chat to somebody, it's an enormous benefit. So I'm really thankful these groups exist.
I am too, and the system is making it harder and harder and harder to be able to, I suppose, do as the system expects you to do now in order to get welfare, in order to get the ability to connect with some of the government organisations. And I think we're in a stage in Australia now where we've probably turned away from a lot of the caring that we have come to know and understand that our parents and grandparents taught us in the 20th century. And it seems to be, bugger you, Jack, I'm all right. Or in other words, you could say, I'm only going to worry about myself now. It's just all too much. It's all too much to worry about your fellow man. It's a pretty damning attitude to take, and it happens in other countries of the world. I just sincerely hope that it's just one of those things we're not going to mirror that many of the other things around the world we have mirrored here in Australia.
You're with Cracker on Soundscape.
Yarra Valley FM 99.1, having a bit of a chat with Tim Heenan here in the studio about homelessness. and Tim is going to be sleeping for 10 nights and staying 10 days in a cardboard box near Melbourne Park in Lilydale. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, but the spread of homelessness in Australia is huge and it's just getting bigger.
Look, it is, Greg. Those of you who might have read the local paper a couple of weeks ago would have seen there's a study that's about to be undertaken by Anchor Community Care Anchor Incorporated, I think it is now, in Lilydale. This is trying to determine exactly how young people start off becoming homeless.
Yeah.
They've determined that approximately 800 young people between the ages of 15 and 24 have already presented themselves this year. As
this
being
just
homeless.
in the Yarra Valley area?
This is just in the outer east, the Yarra Valley area. Yep, I'm only quoting very local statistics. The concern of that is that of those young people, over 40% have children. And if you think about that for one moment, we're looking at children who have children. We're probably looking at young people that may have had a situation of a broken home or might not have had the support of two parents where they need, I suppose, a greater understanding of their future and now are in a situation where they're bringing up little kiddies themselves. They need as much support as they can.
Yeah, so you're going to have more single-parent people out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. But they're homeless. Now, the definition of homeless has been talked about immensely in the last couple of years, and it can mean, yes, a person's sleeping rough, but that only equates to around 20%. People sleeping in cars, which is probably 1 to 2 times that amount. People sleeping in rooming houses with limited tenure there or no tenure at all, which means that it's great to have a roof over your head, but to know that it may not be over your head in 1 week's time is not really anything you can crow about. And then, of course, some young people who they're using the term couch surf, though I think we're tending to move away from that now because what we're trying to say is young people who are perhaps staying at friends' places and more friends' places until they've...
Until they run out of goodwill.
Exactly. And that's where they end up on the homeless queue. So I applaud Anchor in every fashion for doing what they're about to do. But the reason why Anchor's doing this is because they want to hone in their resources for the future. They're limited resources, and a lot of our really great organisations, not only in the Yarra Valley and the outer east, but all around Australia, are going to have limited money now to do the good work they do. So I applaud them because, of course, we're talking about children here. And there is as many as 26,000 children under the age of 10 that are also homeless every night as a result of being with their parents.
In Australia?
In Australia, yes, sorry.
And funding for all of these needs is being slashed across the board. No one's getting increases. And groups who are helping people in need are struggling even more. And it's a terrible situation we're in. Australia does not need to be like this, but we are. Now, your sleep out in the box, Tim.
Yes.
You've got a media event on Monday, is that right, where you're teaming up with some other people to get some news out?
Look, I'm quite excited, Greg. We've got one of the most decent human beings that you could ever want to meet. His name is Les Twentyman. Les has had decades of involvement with young people. He's had decades of involvement with young people that are on the brink of committing suicide, young people that have been in gangs, young people that are involved in substantial crime, young people that have been torn away from their family homes through severe domestic violence. He's coming out to Lilydale to obviously meet some of our grassroots people, but also to take the opportunity to give us a bit of a handle on where he sees Australia at the moment. It's not a pretty picture that we're presenting to the people of the outer east.
Yeah.
But it's not meant to be a pretty picture. It's meant to be an opportunity to be educated on knowing what is going on in our own community, in our own society, in our own country. And until we understand exactly where we stand in the community and how we can help and help in stopping or stemming the tide of what's before us, we're not going to be able to move forward. I'm really looking forward to seeing Les come out. Certainly Nick Rogers and, if possible, John Devine from Anchor Community Care also are going to be there to talk about the study they're about to undertake and give a bit more of a handle of our situation in the Outer East. But it'll be great for Les to hear our people, and it'll be great for our people to hear Les.
Yeah, exactly. No matter what town you live in out here in the valley, you can guarantee that there'll be people probably quite close to you who are sleeping rough tonight. I come from Mount Evelyn. There will be homeless people in Mount Evelyn. We're here in Warrialloc at the studio, probably a few blocks from us now. There are people shivering in the cold. If you're out at the Yarra Junction, there'll be people there. Everywhere you look out here in the valley, the problem exists, so it's good to know about it.
It does exist, but it's able to be hidden a little bit more because there is a vast amount of people sleeping in cars. It's not safe being a car. It's not safe, obviously, being in a squat or in an old building or under a stairwell. Okay, you certainly keep the rain off your head and you might be able to snuggle up with some cardboard and keep part of the cold there, but we've got to have a greater understanding that all is not well, and in understanding something we can probably connect with it a little bit better and then take the opportunity to see what we can do.
Yeah, and Saturday week, near the end of your stint, you were going to have a mass sleepover? You were going to invite people to stay with you, is that right?
Oh, certainly, yes. Yeah, look, I'm hopeful that we can get a great amount of people. Last year it was fantastic to have one of the community groups, Zumba classes in Lilydale. Some of the girls came and slept and raised money to give to Swags for Homeless for the backpack beds. But I'm just leaving it open this year because there's been a lot of people, kind people, with great supporting comments on Facebook, on the Yarra Rangers Winter Sleepout Facebook page that we've got, saying that they want to come down and be there, and I would welcome them with open arms. It will be a great opportunity to have as much awareness as we can. It will be a great opportunity to have as much awareness as we can.
Yeah, so if you're interested, dear listener, get down there Saturday week to Melba Park in Lilydale. Check out what's going on. Say hello to the people. Bring a thermos, and if you're going to stay overnight, bring lots of warm stuff and a hot water bottle or two because you'll be needing it. But during the week, Tim will be there as well during the day and sleeping there at night. Drop in, say hello, shake his hand. He's doing a great thing, and have a bit of a chat to him about your story as well. So thank you very much, Tim, for coming in here to Yarra Valley FM. I know I'll be seeing you some nights down there.
Greg, I've got to thank you publicly. You've been an absolutely fantastic support of all of what I do, and not only this, in other community areas. You've given real good camaraderie. There's been some really filthy nights of weather down there the last couple of years, and to have a warm fire and someone to have a cup of tea with, particularly when it's getting a little bit later in the night and there's people wandering around the park and you don't know who's who. You just have to take it as it comes. But I'm enormously grateful for the fact that you've been there with me most of the time the last couple of